All right, those stories are coming up, but we begin this hour with breaking news. There are multiple reports that legendary talk show host Phil Donahue has died. The anchor, known as the king of daytime talk because of his long-running Phil Donahue Show. It started in the late 60s, and it would go on the air for 29 years. Donahue never shied away from heavy topics, tackling everything from abortion to civil rights to other hot-button issues of the day. He died after a long illness. Phil Donahue was 88 years old. I want to bring in Richard Crouse now to discuss Donahue's legacy. Good morning to you, Richard. Really, Phil Donahue was the OG. He was the king of daytime talk, ushering in a whole new genre of what was on television. Talk to us about what he will be remembered for most.
Well, he hasn't been seen on television for a while now, but he certainly left an impression that lasts to this day. Oprah said, and I have the quote here, he was the first to acknowledge that women are interested in more than mascara tips and cake recipes, that we're intelligent, we're concerned with the world around us, and we want the best possible things for our lives. She says, without the Phil Donahue Show, there would be no Oprah Winfrey Show, because back when he started in 1967 with his talk show, on in the afternoon was seen as kind of the bastion of housewives. There were soap operas and shows like that. There weren't a lot of news programs or television shows that catered to an audience that cared about current events. And then along came Donahue, and he brought that into living rooms on a daily basis. Of course, he's probably, as we're seeing in the photograph here, really best remembered as the guy that went into the audience. And he said that happened almost by accident. He was on stage doing his television show. There was an audience there, and people had questions one day. So he went down and in the audience and took questions, and it shaped everything. And he said, without those audience questions, there might not have been a long-running Donahue Show, because it really changed things. It brought the audience in to be part of the process. So you have a respected news person who was also a great interviewer, but he had kind of a folksy charm about him as well. And he was, in a way, one of us. He was that guy in the audience that wanted to ask a question of the people on stage. And I think that kind of folksiness, that sort of Roy Rogers-esque appeal that he had was certainly one of the things that kept that show on the air for 29 years.
Yeah, he was a legend. I was seeing something like 20 Emmys, 7,000 episodes of his shows. And I believe in the montage of photos that we have, there's one of him in May where he was presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Joe Biden. There it is. And we understand that at 88, he had been in poor health as of late, but he died surrounded, Richard, by his family and his wife of 45 years, who he met on that show, Marlo Thomas. He met on his show.
Marlo Thomas, of course, known for That Girl and all sorts of other things. She was an actor of great acclaim. They were married for 45 years and worked together. They produced a couple of movies together, a couple of documentaries and that sort of thing. But it is for, I think, his television work and being the first person to interview Nelson Mandela following the South African president's release from prison in 1990. He was the first person to speak to him. He had all sorts of guests on his show that were really living at the center of popular culture, like shaping the zeitgeist. People like Muhammad Ali, Steve Martin, Jamie Lee Curtis, people like that would come on and talk about what was going on in their world in a way that was very real and really appealed to audiences. And Donahue, as we're seeing in this picture, look, in that photograph, he looks like someone who's engaged. He looks like someone who is interested in what's happening around him, and there's a sort of a sly smile on his face as well. He was enjoying it, and that enthusiasm is what I remember. And I watched the Donahue Show religiously. I was a fan of him, his broadcasting skills, and just the way that he made every story seem eye level to me, seem relatable to me. There was just something about him and his storytelling ability that made me understand the news in a way that back in those days, maybe I didn't really have as good a grip on.
Yeah, he was a real pioneer. And as you say, a trailblazer. opened the way for so many that followed in his footsteps, namely Oprah. We've got a lot of talk show hosts that have done shows here in Canada. So, yeah, really an impressive career. Richard Crouse, really appreciate you being with us as we cover this breaking news this morning.